I felt an earthquake as soon as I stepped out of the car in front of our new house. The house itself wasn't new at all. It was old and creepy and had to, and I mean had to, be haunted. I was first out of Dad's blue Jeep Liberty. I'd been sitting behind him the entire way from Denver, 13 hours. As soon as the left foot of my black and white checkered Vans touched the gravel driveway, I felt the ground shake, like a huge boulder rolled around inside the hill beneath us. "Whoa," I said, and jumped back into the Jeep. "Freako," called my little sister Emma. She jumped out of her side of the car, laughing at me and holding up the ends of her dark blonde hair like they were devil horns. The earthquake stopped. Mom and Dad didn't even seem to have noticed. "Look at that," Dad said, peering up at the old two-story house which Mom had told us was Victorian. No idea what that meant. Dad crossed his arms over the chest of his green t-shirt, his expression proud. His small bald spot shone under the blazing sun. "It's beautiful," Mom gushed, moving to stand beside Dad. Gingerly, I stepped out of the car again. No earthquake. "You know," I said, staying behind the open Jeep door, "if we got started now, it'd only take us 13 hours to get home." Dad laughed a bit. Mom gave me a warning look, her tightly coiled black hair bouncing. Emma made a silly face at me as she shoved between our parents. "She's 8. Very, very 8. I wiped sweat from my forehead. Sweat in October. "It's been a long day, Mike," Mom said to me, ruffling Emma's hair. Emma and I had the same color hair, but I usually went months without a haircut. My bangs were past my eyes now. "Maybe hold off on the let's move back jokes till at least tomorrow, okay?" I agreed to knock off the jokes for now. I'd made at least one every hour since Mom woke us up this morning. Super early, so we could pack the car with things we absolutely needed while we waited for the movers to get here. Which is to say, a few changes of clothes and my skateboard. That's all I owned for the next couple days. The plaid Volcom shorts I wore at the moment were going to get a lot of use. Oh, in the back seat, one of the things Emma couldn't part with chirped at me. Mr. Cheaper, a 1-year-old bright yellow finch, cocked his head at me like I was a nutball. If a bird was capable of being snarky and sarcastic, Mr. Cheaper fit the bill. Shut up, I told him, and flicked his cage. "Hey," Emma shouted, racing over to her side of the car again when she heard the cage rattle. "Stop it, Michael." "Kids!" Mom brushed hair off her forehead with one hand, rubbing one of her temples with the fingers of her other. "He flicked Mr. Cheaper." I flicked the cage. It's not the same thing. "Kids," Mom barked. This time we shut our mouths. I could tell how tired she was. Mom drove the first leg of the trip while Dad snoozed. Then Dad took over in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Mom hadn't slept though, possibly because Emma and I wouldn't stop bickering. "Weirdo," Emma whispered at me through the Jeep. "Double weirdo. Infinity weirdo. 13th dimension weirdo." She rolled her eyes, which always meant she didn't have a better comeback, and closed her passenger door. I closed mine too and took one cautious step toward the house, but stopped. I didn't want to get too close. The house loomed over me like a hulking monster. We had similar houses back home, but this one was dark and needed paint. The house was 2-story red brick with white wooden accents like a picket fence and decorative shutters. A balcony jutted over the front door, supported by white columns. Tall evergreen trees surrounded the building on 3 sides. The front yard was a strip of dry grass in front of the long porch. There was no garage. We were parked on a gravel driveway. I wandered in the opposite direction of the house, past the driveway and to the edge of the road. Our house was the only one at the top of this hill. The blacktop street leading up here from the main road below was steep enough that I wondered how well I could skate down it. I knew I was going to try at some point. Opposite the front door of the house, maybe half a soccer field away from the porch, Flat ground ended suddenly. I looked down, startled by the abrupt drop-off. A person falling from here might not die, but they'd sure break some bones on the way down. Ah, better not start sleepwalking, I muttered, trying to make myself laugh. It didn't work. From where I stood, the Sonoran Desert stretched out to the east, like forever. The desert landscape reminded me of a Western movie, with vast mountains in the distance and smaller hills nearby. Closer to our hill, in the foreground, I could see a good portion of the town of Hastur. From up here, the buildings and houses looked like miniatures from the model train my friend Robin's dad built in their garage back home. "This house has such an amazing view," Mom mused, startling me as she appeared at my side. I noticed she used the word house, not home. "Sure does," Dad said, his gray New Balance sneakers crunching over the gravel as he came to stand beside Mom. "This is really great, being the only house on the hill." "I wish our phones were working." Mom frowned at hers in her hand. "I really hope Gary is on his way. I'd hate for us to come all this way and he forgot the appointment." "He's been a big help this whole time," Dad said. "I'm sure he'll be there. Hey, we timed it perfectly. 6 p.m. on the nose." Emma and I had never met Gary Tannenbaum, our realtor here in Hastur. He was the one who had told Dad that Dad inherited this house. Honestly, the timing had been good. Dad had just been let go from his tech company and had been having trouble finding a new job. Meaned? Back home, Dad had started talking in a nervous voice about moving to a bigger city with more job opportunities when Gary called and told us what probably looked like a miracle to my parents. A house in this odd rural town that was ours, free and clear if they wanted it. By selling our Denver home plus no house payment, Dad said we'd have lots of years of savings. Plenty of time to find remote work, or try his hand at writing movie and TV screenplays, something he'd always wanted to do. Mom was a nurse, and Hastur had plenty of openings at their small local hospital. Honestly, I only understood like half of any of that, but I got the point. Moving to Hastur meant a free place to live. Maybe I thought now as I gazed at the beautiful view, it'll only be for like a year or two, and then we can go back before I start high school. "Something stinks out there," I said as an odor hit me. I'd smelled it as we drove through town too. "Nothing stinks," Mom corrected automatically, in the tired voice she often had just before Emma's bedtime. "Actually," Dad said, "I thought I caught it too, Mike. Kind of gross," I said. "Yeah, but sour." "Yeah," Dad slapped a hand on my shoulder. "Must be those hypersensitive Boone nasal passages." Mom rubbed her forehead with the tips of her fingers. "Probably we were passing the town dump. Let's not talk about it." "We live near a dump?" Emma said. "Ugh." I couldn't help laughing. Before Mom could get any angrier, a copper-colored Lincoln pulled up alongside the Jeep in the fast-fading light as the sun set behind the tall house. A guy a little older than Dad got out with gray hair and more weight around his middle that bulged out from a pink button-up shirt. "Howdy," he called as he stepped out of the car. "David Boone?" "That's me," Dad said, walking over with Mom. "Call me Dave. Nice to meet you in person, Gary." "Emma, Mike," Mom called. "Come say hi." Impulsively, I spit over the edge of the drop-off. It wasn't exactly a sheer cliff, but the slope had to be more than 45 degrees. I watched the white blob fall for almost 5 seconds before it landed on a rock. "Mike." "Coming." I trudged back to the gravel driveway, feet crunching loudly on the small tan rocks. I paused and looked down at my feet. The gravel sounded like the grinding of dry bones. Out loud, but not loudly, I said, "I just want to go home." This one time, at a skate park near my house, my old house, my real house, I was doing a nose grind on my board against a rail, lost my balance, fell, and broke my left arm. That had hurt, but I didn't cry or anything. Standing here, with no way home, no friends, some creepy old house that was probably haunted, I came kinda close.